Hey everyone, how's it going today, and welcome back to another exciting episode. So in today's episode, we're going to take a revisit to the stock market again, talking specifically about my top 3 picks for August 2020. It has been a little bit of a while since we've done a stock pick video, but that's mostly because we've just been consumed with so much stimulus-based information, and I think for a lot of us, we need to kind of get our finances in order first with a lot of the stimulus stuff before we actually spend so much time focusing on the stock market. But we're going to be taking a revisit to the stock market, doing my top 3 picks for this month. Now, obviously, this has been a very interesting time to invest in the stock market because, as most of you guys know, there are so many incredibly great stocks that are basically great stocks but at almost incredibly high price points right now, like all-time highs. Now granted, there are a good number of stocks that are not at their all-time highs, especially a lot of like tourism, hospitality based stocks. But in today's video, I'm going to be trying to give maybe a little bit more of a diverse set of 3 particular stocks that I think everyone should look at. Now, with that being said, I will say one note is that sometimes a lot of people will ask, like, what is the best stock to buy at times? Sometimes when you are in a market of uncertainty, the best stock to buy might actually be nothing. Sometimes you may actually end up in a market where sometimes there isn't really a good particular stock to buy. Sometimes in certain markets, it may actually be better to just hold on to whatever you have. But with that being said, there always will be some sort of a collection of stocks that maybe is not necessarily the best time to buy, but certainly is the best time to at least follow so you can see where the stock is currently headed. So if there is a crash or if there is something that comes up, especially right now, because there's a lot of people that are anticipating some kind of crash to potentially come. I mean, I think everyone can probably agree that when you look at the stock market right now, for a lot of us, there are still millions in this country that are struggling financially, out of work. There's like 30 million something people unemployed, 30 million something people in the verge of eviction, businesses that are struggling. So sometimes the thing is that it's important to note that even if the economy is very bad, the stock market is sometimes very forward looking. So the price of different stocks sometimes varies a lot more based on what people think the stock will do or where they think the stock will go, less than what the stock is doing now. That's why sometimes you can have like incredibly great stocks that actually have no product or aren't even making a single dollar, but be incredibly high priced if it's a stock that a lot of people foresight to be doing very well. But at this point in time, there are so many stocks that if you tried to enter in right now, you would basically be paying for that stock at the highest price in the worst economy, which I think to me is kind of almost crazy talk. But with that being said, there are 3 stocks that I think are pretty cool stocks to basically look at least for right now. And some of them you can actually look at buying because some of them are not actually overpriced. Some of them are actually stocks I think are actually pretty well priced right now. So definitely stay tuned for that, and that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Stay tuned. Oh yeah, and before we begin, make sure to smash the like button because it really does always help out the channel. Feel free to comment down any thoughts at any time during this, and maybe even comment down your own stock preferences, or if you have any kind of personal insight that you have about any of these particular stocks. And also consider subscribing if you are into any kind of finance-based videos around the stock market, investing, general finance. We will be making a lot more videos about the stimulus check, stimulus package, so just a huge heads up about that. But when a lot of this stuff is over, we will probably focus a lot more about the stock market. So definitely stay tuned if you are into any of those topics at this time. So in the last episode, we talked about the stocks. I believe our last 3 stock picks for last month was basically Microsoft. It was basically Chegg with K12 as another alternative option because they're both in the online education space. And then also DKNG and then GAN, so GAN. So technically 5 stocks, but 2 of them are in the same category of stocks. So I kind of give you guys a little bit of an option. That was basically last time. So for today's episode, the first stock that we're going to be looking at is going to be Dollar General. Now, Dollar General is a very interesting stock because you guys have probably already heard of the store, but the reason why I think it's a great stock stock to look at right now is because right now, because we are going through a very, very interesting economic time and a lot of people are struggling, in very bad economies when people don't have a lot of money, the best recession-proof stocks will tend to be a lot more stocks centered around like discount stores, cheap food, fast food, so things like, you know, McDonald's, Walmart. I personally choose Dollar General. I think another alternative option you can look at is probably Dollar Tree, and then also maybe consider even Five Below. But I personally pick Dollar General only because I think of all of those stocks, it's the one that I personally think has the most growth and is likely to be the least riskiest, only because it's the one that when you look at its graph, it's growing at a very, very steady rate, so you kind of have some level of some mental sense of stability and more peace of mind compared to a lot of the other stocks. So I definitely recommend looking at Dollar General right now, especially if you are someone that predicts us potentially going into some kind of crazy massive recession of some kind, which is what a lot of people thinks is coming up ahead. And the second stock that we're going to look at that's a very, very interesting one, and this one will be in the tech industry, and this is actually a growth stock that may actually make you rich one day, but we don't know yet, of course, no guarantees, is going to be Teledoc. And so Teledoc, I've actually used their service before. I visited the hospital and the doctor several times over the last couple of months, and there were a few times that whenever I needed to kind of like have a quick chat with my doctor, like a very, very quick appointment, all Teledoc is, it's basically just a way for people to see the doctor or to talk to like any kind of medical specialist remotely. So think a little bit like Zoom, but specifically in the health industry. I've personally used their service before. All it is especially right now with the pandemic, sometimes you might have to talk to your doctor or you might have to talk to a specialist, but you don't really have the opportunity, or rather the comfort, to be able to go in person, or the convenience, especially if you don't feel safe and you want to avoid a lot of these places right now. That is where Teledoc comes in. Teledoc gives you guys the opportunity to basically see doctors and health specialists from a very remote area. And I think that what I love about this stock, I think, is that especially given the times right now, I think that as time goes on, most of tech, and especially in this industry, I think that it's going to start to get used more and more frequently. I think a lot of people can say Zoom is going to get used a lot more frequently and get a lot more popular even after this pandemic is over. But Teledoc is basically a little bit like Zoom, but in the health industry. It's a way to communicate with health specialists, telemedicine, arranging remote appointments. And I think that this stock is actually one that is actually almost near its high point. It's not totally at its high. I believe right now, as of August 22nd, which is when I'm recording this video, and its high is about 250. So it is a little bit discounted from its high, but it has had a major insane rally. I personally think that if you are interested in this stock, which I do recommend, definitely at least follow the stock. If you think a crash is going to potentially come, you can either really consider either just buying one or two shares, just partially spending and then holding some cash to maybe dollar cost average and buy later, or just hold off on it. But whatever you use as your brokerage, if you're using like Webull, Robinhood, maybe I'll even include like a referral link to sign up for that. I don't know. A lot of other YouTubers do that, but basically the idea is that it's definitely a stock I think that's worth promising, that to definitely at least follow, that could maybe hopefully make a lot of money one day if it really takes off even more than it already has right now. And then the third and final stock that everyone has probably heard of, that I think is really going to be a neat one to look at, is going to be Starbucks. Now I know this might not be like the biggest like hyped up stock that everyone like loves right now, but the reason I particularly choose the stock, I think, is because I think if everyone thinks that a recession is going to come, more or less, it's important to try to find a stock that hasn't actually rallied like a massive ton, a stock that you actually can look at into actually buying. So not just following, but actually physically entering into. I think that potentially if you're looking for some kind of stable defense stock, like a stock to kind of protect yourself that hopefully will not crash a lot from here, or is a stock that's already relatively undervalued because it hasn't actually rallied a lot, I think Starbucks might be the stock to consider, because I think what I really love about Starbucks, I think, is compared to almost every stock that I've mentioned so far, I think including the ones from like last month, I think the big thing about Starbucks is that people more or less will always love to drink coffee. And I think right now Starbucks is probably taking a beating because, first off, is their coffee is very expensive. So I think a lot of people are, trying to save money. So it may not be the best time to spend like $5, I know, for like a coffee. I know at my local Starbucks, but I'm in New York City, $3, $4, $5. But the idea is, I think, is that eventually when the economy hopefully recovers, people will hopefully start to go out again, buy their coffee. I can't foresee them to suddenly just stop shutting down, people to just suddenly stop buying coffee. But I think my other big favorite thing about Starbucks is, I think compared to almost every stock that I looked at, it is probably the stock that has the best value right now, because I believe the high of Starbucks is about $100-ish, I believe, and right now the stock stands at only about like $75. It is a stock that has reasonable dividends. It'll hopefully protect you if something goes on, but I think the biggest thing is that it is a stock that hopefully will last for a reasonable number of years. And I think even bigger than that is because it actually is very well priced. Unlike a lot of other tech stocks that have basically shot up, Starbucks is actually cheaper than it was even a year ago. So it really gives you perspective that this is actually one stock that has taken a hit, but I do see potential that hopefully eventually, maybe not now, but hopefully at some time in the next year, you will see hopefully some kind of like U-turn, and it'll hopefully go back again and help kind of protect your portfolio. So that's really just my personal top 3 stock picks, but feel free to comment down anything below, your own personal thoughts, what you currently think about it, anything like that at all. Would love to hear them, even if it's like another stock you'd like me to maybe look at. But that's basically gonna wrap up the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Remember to smash the like button if you haven't done so already, because it really does help support the channel, and consider hitting the subscribe button and the bell notification. We do make lots of finance videos, mostly stimulus based videos now, but we will shift into more stock market videos when this stuff kind of recovers itself and hopefully has a different also stock market to basically look at. But that's going to be today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope to see you guys next time. Stay safe, stay well, and yep, thank you guys for watching.